So we have covered pretty much all the topics that I've wanted to cover. We covered religion, family customs and traditions, family customs and traditions when it comes to cuisine. I guess now I want to, since you're from the southern part of Kyrgyzstan, I guess I'd like to discuss kind of the cultural aspect of it, given that you guys are more closer to Uzbekistan, and I assume that there's a bit of maybe an overflow of influence, sort of Uzbek culture. I know there's been a few clashes in the past, like enclaves and all that stuff. But my question, I guess, is with how diverse that area of Kyrgyzstan is, and the mixing of Uzbek and Kyrgyz culture. In your case, in your family's case, how much did you see much Uzbek culture influence in your family, or like how big post-independence, of course? Post-Soviet Union. How did did you see many Uzbeks when you were in that area? How did Uzbek culture kind of, did it overflow with your, culture, I guess?
Yeah, it, for example, continuing about the cuisine, for example, like gelin, the bride, after the marriage and stuff, wedding day, they have a lot of guests, and then the gelin, the bride, needs to bow down several times and serve whole day with the tea. Like, there are a lot of tea lovers, and they serve it in this way. For example, like in one hand, like maybe in a Korean culture they give with the two hands, right? But in my culture, with the mix of the other cultures, like Uzbek, our neighboring countries, we would give the tea this way. Like, one hand is holding, maybe here is this sleeves, right? In order not to, it's respect showing the food, and that I appreciate your area, kind of thing. Like, not to your slave to be around this place, but taking it a little this way and handing the chai with the right hand and a little in a bowing manner. Bow or bow?
Bowing.
Bowing manner to the guests, and like a gelin service, the service of the bride, and also the bride price in marriage, that groom side like pays, right? And
it's
also
kind of like hospitality, exchanging of hospitality.
And also dowry in a marriage, they pay for the in order to make the bride more appealing and to help sustain their lives, young couples' lives to sustain well in their future lives. They provide dowry also. Dowry, wedding styles, beshik ceremonies, when a child is born, they give the name, and they in the beshik they with the juniper tree, the Umayane, the goddess of the, like, again, pre-Soviet influence of shamanistic culture. There is still practiced obraz, the role of Umayane. Umayane is the goddess of the children. Do you know? Maybe in a folklore you've seen that Umayane. She is more depicted in this way in the history. Umayane. Now it's not being shown. Maybe I mistyped. I'm not gonna take your time. But Umayane, it's the Turkologists and all the Turkic language groups. There is in the literature, in their folk tale, there is Umayane, goddess, protector of the children, especially. They are kind of like spiritual mother. And that mother, when the baby is born ceremony, she fires the juniper tree and purifies kind of from the bad spirits. Yeah, the beshik, the cradle. Yeah, so these things are similar to our neighboring countries, Kazakh, Uzbek, and other. Also, and maybe the Mongolians also they have. And also when baby is born and started his walking, right? And his or her feet needs to be tied with the sheep skin, black and white skin. The feet should be tied, and young children run towards that 1 year child in order to untie, to cut.
Okay.
And this means like the bed and the white lap of the child is like cut off, like he's kind of ready to the line. Maybe I'm not explaining well, but like basic ceremony, wedding traditions, like, and what else? The hospitality that people show, like it's
kind of like mixed with.
Yeah, mixed.
Okay, interesting.
And also, for example, like hospitality, speaking about hospitality, for example, in the US, maybe in the Western world, coffee, let's grab a coffee, it means only coffee, right?
Yes.
And you don't have to imagine about another thing. Coffee solely means having coffee together. But if a person in my culture and in my neighboring countries they invite, then there's not only coffee, there is the cookie, there is the meal, proper meal, whole meal, yeah, served after each meal from after one another.
That's interesting. So it's more the hospitality part that's shared.
Mm-hmm.
I guess staying on the culture, staying on the cross culture, it's been, I think, about 32 years since Kyrgyzstan received independence from the USSR. My question is, I guess first question to follow up, before I make my follow-up, how much do you spend time in the cities when you go to either Bishkek or Osh?
How much time do I spend?
Do you go there often, or when you're there, of course?
I spend maybe 2-3 hours or maybe half a day, especially on what? These days, like theater thing is started thriving in my culture, in Kyrgyz literature, in Kyrgyz theater, because most of the time, like especially in the southern maybe, or maybe only in my community, I shouldn't be of course biased, but it isn't like not well developed thing, going to the theaters, people go to the cinema, go to watch movie, eat popcorn, but they do not dress properly and pay respect to the performers on the theater, like by applauding well or being their fans in opera or theater. So maybe I would spend, and it's being also performed more performances on the theater, being active, and also more young people also started coming. So I would say that after having independence, performing and showing in the arena, like especially opera and theater things are being popularized only now, these days. I would spend my time maybe there, like maybe visiting.
So so compared to your traditional life, how much would you say all your years that you lived in Kyrgyzstan, that you would say that Soviet culture, Soviet kind of life is still prevalent in that area? Or has it gotten more? So basically, so I give you an example. Kazakhstan, it's kind of, I guess, split. You have some cities that are completely Soviet, and some cities that are 360 opposite, which are completely Islamic, very traditional Kazakh in that sense. And then the cities like Almaty and Astana, they're more diverse and more multicultural, kind of like the West, if you want to make comparisons. So I guess my question would be, out of all your years in Kyrgyzstan, and based on your grandparents' story, how much of Soviet life is still there, or are you seeing a revival of Kyrgyz culture in the cities and elsewhere too, or is it still, or is it more modernized, I guess?
Yeah. Maybe Soviet kind of style is 40%. Yeah, 40. Maybe sometimes it goes to the 60 and then comes down to the 40 in terms of like language and the like perception, ideology. Yeah. So 40 to 60 or 60 to 40, yeah, this like bounces back around. It's like solely my opinion, yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
And do you see your generation and younger adopting more of a, I don't want to say global, I don't want to say globalist, but in a way it's kind of globalized culture, you know, TikTok and Instagram and all those kind of global, you know, culture, I guess you can say. Compared to that, well, how has the youth done in remembering their culture and sisters in culture in general?
So yeah, social media and all other stuff like, yeah, in order to keep up with the world, right? They are it's being used very much, yeah, by young generation, and also it's very good to see it. Only these years we are seeing people who are using social media also in terms of education. It was just like TikTok, filming the videos, like short videos and other stuff, and it was never, not never, but like there wasn't any tendency to use it in educational purpose. Only now, these years are being promoted educational side of the social media. Yeah, so Kyrgyz bloggers, Kyrgyz language being encouraged, and still like being globalized also, sticking to the roots kind of like thing is being incorporated. Yeah, and there are some bloggers that being like supported by many followers.
And for those watching, I ask this because many Western countries, the globalists, mainly like in Western Europe, with I guess the very American influence that is prevalent in that part of Europe. A lot of people, a lot of our generation, your generation, my generation, all generations are young. I guess 30 and younger, maybe 40 and younger too, to an extent to that. In Western Europe, kind of have lost their sense of their own culture because, you know, American culture has kind of taken over. I guess for an example, in France, many of the younger generation, a lot of them don't even know their history, which is, you know, I mean, they still know the language and all that, but a lot of them are just like on TikTok, and I don't want to generalize here, but this is from what I read and what I hear, and in America as well, with the very globalized culture that's here in the U.S., people remembering and knowing the history of America is very low. The culture here has kind of changed very dramatically. But that's, you know, I guess with America, given that it's always changing, every year is a different year for this country. So I guess wanted to see where the young generation stands on that. And I guess it's a different story because Kyrgyzstan's, of course, thousands and thousands of years much older than the U.S. and the West, many Western parts of Europe and, you know, and America. So I guess in that sense it's a little different to what I was trying to get to. But we've hit the 13-minute mark. So I think that's a little bit more than 40 minutes, if my calculation right. FLTA, Fulbright teaching assistant, Adina. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much
for doing this. I appreciate it, and it was very interesting. I had all the topics that we needed to do, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your questions. Also, like encouraged me to think deeply. The thing that you said, like knowing the language is one thing, but knowing the history is another. You said, right?
Yes.
That hit me differently. Thank you so much for those thought-provoking questions. I also really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. So we're here with Adina, part 2, I guess you could call it. Adina is a Fulbright FLTA for foreign language teaching assistant.
Yeah.
The Kyrgyz language.
Yeah.
We're in a different room this time. And I guess we'll go where we left off, which is Kyrgyz food. In our class, we learned our teachers from Ukraine. We watched the video in the class that many families make one of their more popular dishes. I forgot the name of it,
Mm-hmm.
but they have a very popular dish over there, and each family makes it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's from what I recall from the video. No dish is similar to. I guess not. It's not like that, but every dish is made similarly but differently. And every I guess mother and grandmother has their own way of preparing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if maybe possibly Kyrgyz cuisine in family traditions, if it's the same that they have, that it's prepared differently in each Kyrgyz household, or is it more uniform where it's kind of nationally prepared? I guess if that makes sense.
Maybe it would taste different, maybe in somehow, but nationally it's unified.
Well, yeah.
Maybe it's my opinion. It's and one of the taste of Kyrgyz cuisine. It would be. Should I be recommending or like for example, let's choose the one that my family makes it and other families also. Apart from beş parmak, it is on top of the beş parmak. It's decorated thing, kind of like beş parmak, as you know, it's like 5 fingers, right? Like you eat it without the spoon, like you devour because of the taste. There are meats, lamb meats, and also there is chuchu. It is sausage. Sausage, for example, it is in this form, and then inside it's put fat of the horse. Horse fat is very beneficial, I think. Horse fat, everything that like and the in what brain, narrow brain,
Neurology.
Yeah, and what was
Neurological.
What was the marrow? Is this the word, English word? Marrow. Sorry for that. Like there are let's say so this is the bone, right?
Yes.
And if it's this part of the bone, not my bone, but the animal bone is broken, and inside of the bone there is white thing. Do you know that?
Is it like a cream?
Yeah, it's like a cream. Yeah. It's like a delicatesse. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And all of these things are put into the like sausage thing, and it's boiled. It is also smoked in the air with the juniper tree fire, and then it is eaten with the beş parmak on top of it. So it is a very unique way of cooking it, but most of the time, like wherever you go, southern part or northern part, you eat the same taste of thing. Like you're not gonna be sitting or regretting, oh, that part of the food it was like different or more tastier. No, it's more kind of the same. I don't know. It's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on my end. It wasn't really a well thought out question, but it was a good answer. Definitely. I guess in terms of like other foods, like do you guys have like samsas or?
Yeah, as the place that I live is southern part, and then it's mixed more with the Uzbek culture, and it is, as you said, like they make tandoori, samosa, samsuks, yeah.
Yes.
Very delicious, and we make the bread also in the tandoor. Yeah, and the bread tastes with the taplyonное молоко, sarmai. What it would be? Did you learn sarmai in Kazakh culture?
Sarmai.
Like yellow oil.
Sarmai? Yeah.
What was that in English?
Olive oil?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, and it's a little different. Can I check it out quickly?
Yeah, quick, yeah.
Okay, let me Google it in Russian in order to find топленое масло. Okay, what would be the clarified butter? Ghee? What is it? melted butter.
Yeah.
Melted butter. Yeah, this is the butter that use wherever you go, you eat like this. This is the grandma food.
Mm.
Hot bread with the ghee melted butter. You eat like this, and one thing I didn't understand that like this thing that cranberry jam. Is it only eaten with the bread, or can it be in American culture? Is it only eaten?
I think in general,
Or can
from the folks I know, they eat it with bread.
not with that?
I don't think
Drink.
just by itself. I don't
And
know.
don't drink it as a tea?
No, I don't think so.
But in my culture, all the types of this kind of berry things are drank as a tea. Not drank like what is used as a tea jam. Yeah, and you eat butter, melted butter, hot bread with the jam, tea. Yeah, chai. It's awesome. It's the grandma style of cooking. It's the grandma association of food.
And I guess just because it's like a grandmother would, or grandmothers in Kyrgyzstan would
Make the bread,
make
yeah.
the bread and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
all make it fresh and dough and roll and make it cook it in the tandoor. Tandoor is this kind of a hot pot.
Yeah.
Hot pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stone pot, and you put it on, or maybe some
It's
kind
like hanging
of
up
blade.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, interesting. And so is that I guess the way of cooking, you have a particular interesting past with growing up traditional. I don't want to assume, but did you guys use any like modern appliances for cooking the stuff, or did you guys use, as you mentioned, the kind of like the hot pots and like the big stuff, stone stuff? How did how did your grandmother and maybe your mother go about preparing traditional Kyrgyz food compared to like modern day Kyrgyzstan, where I would assume most people use stoves? How was that for you guys?
Yeah, it was, we say kazan. How is it called in, I don't know, in English, pot maybe again, but it's the black kazan, this kind of kazan, like this kind of dish or dish, yeah, utensil, like this kind of, and there's under it, and we put the rocks on it, and we put the kazan, and then we make the fire, and mostly we made all of the food cooking in my childhood in a kazan. I'm gonna be showing the word of the picture of a kazan, otherwise kazan, kazan tama. I'm gonna write in Kyrgyz so that he's showing me the Russian place, kazan. Okay, this kind of thing, but it looks like modern thing.
Yes.
But in my childhood it would be big, very heavy, this kazan, yeah. And we would cook it in a fire, all the food. And also a little Russianized way, samovar we use. Samovar, do you know samovar?
Samovar?
From Russia.
Sounds familiar.
Samovar. Yeah, this from Russian.
Oh yes, that's a tea.
Tea boiler.
Like a tea boiler, yeah.
Yeah.
Tea kettle.
Tea kettle.
Yeah. Okay, then it sounded familiar to me.
Yeah.
And you guys use that?
Yeah,
to
for
prepare tea?
boiling the tea or boiling in water. Yeah, this would be the way that we cooked in my childhood.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm going to stop the video here so we can move on to another topic.
Thank you.
So we're here with for the legends, lore, and folklore, Eastern European to Central Asia. Wilmington. We're here with Adina, visiting professor from Kyrgyzstan. Teacher assistant.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you could just introduce yourself to us, if you don't mind.
My name is Adina, as it has been said. I'm from Kyrgyzstan, and specifically from the southern part of Kyrgyzstan. from the city of Osh, which is blended with the different cultures and ethnicities, and I'm here at Indiana University, and I feel so privileged to be interviewed. That's such an excitement.
So, if you don't mind telling a little bit about your family, your possibly family traditions, or compared to like maybe your friends or anything, is there any like difference between what your family does and maybe what your friends do in terms of like culture-wise?
I come from the extended family, even though extended family, like in this big family, there are grandparents from mom's side, grandparents from my father's side, and my father, mother, and like what are the difference? What are the difference, right? I was brought in a village. We used to live in the mountains, surrounded full mountains, and we literally lived the life that old nomadic like Kyrgyz people
Like in Europe.
The other Central Asian like nomadic people lived like in the yurts, but not specifically yurts, but like house life. But we had yurts and a lot of cattle, to shepherding, breeding the animals. So I have pretty old style way of life of childhood. Is it the correct word? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess more recently it's been more modern, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. And my next question, in Kazakhstan we have this tradition where you're required to know your seven, I think, grandfathers or seven fathers. Given that Kyrgyz and Kazakh culture are very, very similar, I'm just wondering how children are brought up to remember their family pasts, like their grandfathers and grandmothers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is definitely the same practice that my grandfather especially encouraged me to know even like how to sit. We do not have such tables, for example. Like we didn't used to have, we didn't used to have such tables, and like he like always encouraged me to sit like not crisscross but this way. Like it is more paying the like a little close. It's more paying the respect to the ones who are like you're a little bow down, your legs are like this, and he used to come sit here nearby me, and I'm gonna be telling about like he literally like I'm gonna be telling about your grandparents. What was the name of that grandpa and what was he doing, like grandfather, the seventh grandfather, and I needed to recite and to tell their history. And my grandfather's name is, one of my grandfather's name is 6 or 4, Shabdan, Begalı, and those names are related with the bees, the rulers of Kyrgyz, like Khanate time, the time before Soviet time. There was the rulers of Kyrgyz people. My English not being enough to explain, but so they were the country rulers. So in this way, I could know the history of my like lineage, what they were up to.
Okay.
So it is the practice thing. Yeah.
Okay. And as far as you know, your family's always been in Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah. And especially in a far
mountains.
mountainous village. Yeah, I'm a village girl.
Okay, good timing. And I guess my second question relating to family is that are there any family folklores in the? I mean, I think specifically because you grew up in the mountains, very rural, traditional life. So maybe if you could explain, maybe if you have any stories that you're like family folklores or stories, I guess you could say. Like
both my grandma was the very she had like shamanistic like background, she always did so many like rituals in the house, in the field. And my grandpa was more like kind of a storyteller, but not in a way that like all like as in the films like like past oral traditions. Of course I did used to tell like epic manas in this way, but I used to hear some stories. One of it, I would like to say first with the just the word collocation that my grandpa used to. He mostly not referred to God, like not God, but like Tenir, more like the God of the heavens, or just not
Sky God.
Yeah, sky God. Yeah, and the heaven is all like is God already, like he's everywhere kind of a thing. And he was also used to something like nowadays Kyrgyz is corrupted with the Russian and other like languages, and especially with Russian, yeah, integrating it with it. It's not the wholly spoken in Kyrgyz fully, but my grandpa used a lot of, and these days is more like influence on the Russian and other English, like in order to try to globalize, right? But in this way, a little. Sometimes our language is kind of diminished, but my grandpa shared about how Kyrgyz language is like very rich and unique, and he shared about like as we lived in the mountains, he shared about different Kyrgyz, not shared, but he used for one mountain to describe one mountain, like Kapchirai, this, I would just say like mountain and this side and that side, but valley side, but cave. Okay, maybe in English it would, I'm using the simple words, but in Kyrgyz it would be very different type of words or adjectives or features of the mountain to describe, or other places. And this way I could see the like rich usage of the Kyrgyz language. And along with that, of course, I was not like, I just like some ideas jotted down, but like now I'm not seeing them because I'm excited here. Being into it. One of it, I would like to share about one of the stories that I grew up is Kojojash. Because why is the Kojojash epic tale?
If you don't mind, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, Kojojash. Kojojash. K-O-J-O-J-J-A-S-H. I'm not good at spelling, sorry. Kojojash.
Awesome, thank you.
And that story is about, for example, now I realize that it's more like Greek. It is kind of similar to Greek mythologies. And later, like cartoons started being shown on the TV, and then this is like Greek mythology. It's like that. And I remember the story from my childhood that like Kojojash, the history of like Deus. It's like the gigantic people with one eye and killing and battling with underground creatures. And there are nowadays I see like in order to prepare for my class, Kyrgyz class, I said what kind of like authentic material we need to read, and Kyrgyz Kyrgyz folk tales I read and I cannot find nothing. And I see that like Kojojash is one of the unique tales of superheroes, supernatural things. Yeah, battles with the dragons, because at that time there wasn't influence of like Western culture specifically directly to our oral storytelling.
This goes way back in history, in stories. Just to clarify, you had mentioned earlier, I think your grandmother and your grandfather, shamanism.
Yeah.
Was it Tengrism?
I guess more like that.
Tengrism?
Yeah, Tengrism, yeah.
Okay, and if you don't mind, if you feel comfortable sharing, are you guys currently still shamanism, Tengrism, or have you guys gone more over to like Islam, which is I guess the majority religion of the country?
I guess it is more mixed.
Mixed?
Yeah, mixed. For example, sometimes people say that like this is condemned, this is prohibited in Islam, but they say this is the way that like our cultural identity that passed before Islam, like people were like that, and we need to also accept that part of ourselves, like they say. And specifically nowadays are more like dominance of Islam.
Yes.
Very much.
Very much. Yes.
Thick dominance. But like specifically about my family, especially my grandparents, grandma, so many rituals have been done. Like I remember being me so little girl and turning the lights and then putting the candles on and like in order to express my idea, I would say that later time I started watching, for example, historical dramas of like Korean and Mongolian people. And they would dance, like historical dance and doing like ritualistic things. And I said, oh, this is the thing in my childhood I saw from my grandma. Like the way that like dancing in the like dark place and asking and singing with the throat.
Yeah,
Throat thinging,
yeah.
doing throat thingings, yeah. And believing like spiritual healing and saying those murmuring things. Yeah, it was but a little scary, of course. Yeah, I don't want to be related now because I'm more like science toward lean. But I of course I respect that part of my childhood also. That extent.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys are very traditional.
Yeah, and I guess I was also raised in that tradition.
Because I know, as you mentioned that Kyrgyzstan is majority Islam. Much like all of other places in Central Asia, it's very rare to makes this interview even better because most of Central Asia is Muslim, and I guess we wouldn't have these kind of stories, from these very ancient times. So I guess I'd like to touch upon, if you don't mind, your family during the Soviet times. They were very rough times, of course, for all of Central Asia. I guess if you want to, it could be brief, it could be long, it's up to you, about, I guess, how your family preserved the Kyrgyz culture during Soviet times, and well, if they were forced to do anything, like integrate into like the Soviet culture, or basically, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how did they weather through the Soviet storm, if you will, in preserving their traditions and that date back all the way, in the beginning of your timeline, your family timeline. So I guess
Okay. What would I say there? Okay. One of the things, like just I want to make a bridge from the I had something in my mind. Okay, I completely lost this idea. The thing that about shamanistic, I will continue and go to this question. Okay, this like, yeah. For example, spiritual healing, pray through prayer, but prayer to not specifically to God, but maybe to the spirits. All right, and from my grandma, it was, I guess, that time it was hard to her too, but she, of course, she didn't specifically share with me, like it was hard for me, blah blah blah, in Soviet times, but through the stories of my mom, I can say that it was influenced by their traditions in a way that, like, Soviet regime, it had a rigid time schedule of working hours, right? All of them needed to wake up at the same time, or at the same time to go to work, not work, factories, all people had the same equality, same jobs, same things, like no one could afford like extra one thing. If there would be extra,
no one was higher.
Yeah.
Everyone was
on the same
level.
One more extra spoon, it would be asked by the one time like that. How do we say that? Like government officials would come and then ask, like, why do you have extra carpet, or why do you have this extra pot? Where did you get it? It wouldn't be unimaginable to have the extra thing, and it wouldn't have to my family also to provide their spiritualistic way of life to lead, because they need to follow the regime, that like they need to go, they need to do this thing, that thing. And so under the government rule, it was like kind of strictly scheduled for them to they couldn't like share their time to personal things, personal life. So in this way, family traditions like have been interrupted, for a while. Of course, I was born that time, and there, like the habits that they used to do, it was stopped, interrupted. And another thing would be believe in God, maybe.
Yeah.
My grandma stick to her spiritual things, the identity, cultural thing, knowing unconsciously, consciously, I don't know. But my grandpa was under maybe the Russian Soviet influence, I guess, started to be more open to the books that he reads, and he collected only Russian approved books in the bookshelf, like in the whole room. He collected only like Russian. It could be not only Russian approved he chose, but there wasn't any choice to collect any other books. So he was more open to any kind of topic, politics, religion, or reading of even before Soviet it started to be Islamic, right? And then they preserved they needed only talk about Quran, and there wouldn't be any speech about Bible or any other things, any other holy scriptures of the world. So he was influenced to being open, and these are the couple of things that I remember now.
Okay, yeah, it's perfect. So basically, what we're saying is that your grandfather, if I'm mistaken,
Correct.
he was more Sovietized, as opposed to traditional. Perfect. Okay.
And also maybe one of the things that I can remember. For example, how it was influenced, right? It was influenced in a way also that writers, my mom tells about that a lot now, and her grandfather or father either shared that that the writers, the ones who independently think and wanted to preserve Kyrgyz language or like Kyrgyz literature, it was published Kyrgyz literature also at the Soviet time, but the ones who only that approved Russian Soviet ruling, but the ones who independently think and then write about Urkun traditions, when was the First World War?
First World War, 1940.
14, yeah?
1940.
40?
For the Second World War or first?
First.
Oh, yeah, 1914.
And then after First World War, we had in Kyrgyzstan Urkun time is when it's I guess not only Kyrgyz, Kazakhs also, like they flee from Russian, US Soviet governing rule of violence rule to China, to everywhere.
Yeah, they kind of migrated other places.
Yeah. And it was also, so it means that there were strict regime under Soviet time, and people, independent thinkers, couldn't independently thrive in literature, either in education. They kept only people in the farms, and didn't allow to take the positions of either as an educator or
you were looked as a, and maybe this is the wrong way of looking at it, but if you looked more academic in the Soviet Union back in the early parts of the Soviets, unlike under Stalin, I guess they would perceive you to be more of a capitalist, as opposed to during Khrushchev, where it was a little bit more open-minded. Maybe not religious-wise, but still, I guess, much better than Stalin. I guess the next topic I want to get to is personal family culture. In terms of food, cuisine.
Is it in pause? Sorry.
Oh, it's still recording.
Can we a little pause?
Oh yeah, sure.